Thank you. So, of course, the airline, these small airlines, still have to meet the obligation of continuous airworthiness requirement. So that's what forces them even to go outside the continent to have the service provided. So this practice not only is operational cost, but also limits the growth and competitiveness of our local MRO service providers. So our distinguished panel of MRO leaders will examine the continent plans to cut down the maintenance outsourcing, build a strong partnership among African MROs. The aim is to find practical solutions that lower maintenance costs for small airlines while growing the activity and capabilities of African MROs, with the goal of bringing back, I'm trying to challenge my panelists, with the goal to bring back African MRO services worth of about $1 billion in a couple of years. So this is what we are trying to do, and so I will now move to the questions to the panelists. So my first question is to, I will start by Vijay. So first question to you is, what are the main barriers preventing small African airlines from utilizing local MRO services?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Konate. Good morning, everyone. I think several of them have already been discussed today. We had so many very engaging speeches from our leaders. But if you look at this from the perspective of a small airline, many airlines want to carry out maintenance in Africa. It's only that they probably do not have the opportunity. And there's several structural challenges that we face as a small airline. As we see right now, we've already been shown there's so many capability gaps that exist within our market in Africa. We have 18 shops, or specialized component shops, landing shops, even paint facilities that don't really exist in the whole footprint of Africa. So that forces smaller airlines to probably go to an ecosystem that already caters for that need. Because in the perspective of a small airline, downtime of an aircraft.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Downtime in aircraft during maintenance can be detrimental to their existence, really. If a check that's supposed to take 20 days ends up taking 40 days just because of these challenges, the survival is on the line, really. So, in my opinion, the first gap that exists within Africa is capability gap. Another one that was really highlighted this morning was supply chain constraints within Africa. There are several supply chain constraints that exist in the world. There is costs involved in logistics. There's customs costs that we discussed also in the morning, but airlines incur just by moving parts from one destination to another. I think the other barrier that we face, significant barrier that we face, that was mentioned again in the morning, was regulatory challenges. The CAA approving one of our MROs from one country does not automatically mean the other country accepts it. In environments such as EASA or NDA, it's something that's accepted in the whole continent at the end of each round. So Africa needs to move that way, so that all CAAs within the region accept each other's kind of authorizations. The other thing that we've seen from discussions with other members of today and yesterday is that there is lack of visibility of what others can do within the region. Not everyone is sure what the other party can do, and hence there's conferences such as this, and I really appreciate AFRAA for doing something like this fun. And it's just showing what we're able to do within us. Because the solutions do exist within us, it's only that we don't know where they are. And so looking at all these four factors, in my opinion, are what causes these challenges and makes possible small areas popular for more stable environment to take them into this. These are the barriers that we need to fix so that we bring that stability down. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vijay, for highlighting some of the concepts which take our small carriers to send the aeroplane outside the country. So now I hope, since I heard the recording of Zoom, I hope my engineer Youssef, Wahbi, you are online. So I have a question for you, and James will have to respond to that question. So, how can African MROs collaborate to offer competitive pricing and share resources for small carriers?
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for sharing and being family. When answering the question on the African program, many of our work based on the different activities. The integration is something we can perform and we share. Between them, our work is remote, and we have the point is how we integrate across people along the African and mentioned hopefully. In this part, there should be a third something like a platform to share any capability. We can provide EgyptAir, Ethiopian MRO capability to work on our work. SAT, we can do the party and how we can do it. This should be something that we can take first. How to move along and perform the small operate customer operation. With the capabilities, also operate from the authority in the different sectors. The matter of the areas where the standard of work is according to the country. With the low prices of the power, the rates, the company we can share with the small African operators in Kenya. This is my idea about the way the big African companies.
Thank you, Youssef. I'm going to turn around to look at James. The same question. So, how can African MROs collaborate to offer competitive pricing and fair resourcing to small carriers?
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Moderator, please permit me to use Aero Contractors example of collaboration before the MRO and after the MRO was established. Aero Contractors is a 67-year-old company that it established the MRO 9 years ago. While preparing to establish the MRO, we had collaboration and support from Kenya Airways here. Cornelius was still in Kenya Airways, and he spoke to the management, and they opened the doors to us to learn everything from induction to billing. And then we also had support from South African Airways Technical. They sent 2 inspectors when we did the first signature. Also, Ethiopian Airways MRO supported us when we signed MOU. However, the moment we got the approval, the 100% support diminished to about maybe 5%. It became competition, and the competition was brutal. In African societies, I don't know, I think it is all over the world. If you are eating with your younger brother, you want to leave some food for him to eat. If you eat everything with him and take the empty plate and lick it, then it is brutal. I'm going to give you an example. This year, we had an operator with just 3 aircraft, a small operator with 3 airplanes that started operation maybe a year and a half ago. They suddenly found themselves with an AD that must be accomplished in February. It's like their planners didn't plan properly or they didn't see it. Then they came to us. We provide line and base maintenance for them. They came to us, we looked at the AD, we discovered that there is a tool that we don't have. And then we contacted one of the big MROs. Can you loan us this tool to accomplish this task? Oh no, we don't, we are busy. It's busy throughout. We can't even tell you when we can give it to you. So we had to call the airline and told them this is the situation. But this same airline contacted the same MRO, paid huge amounts of money in thousands of dollars, and the MRO sent a technician with the tool to come and do the AD. They spent about 11, maybe 2 weeks. We asked them, they said it's not available. But when they got money, tool and technician were available. At the end of the day, we tried to bill the operators. They said, no, you can't bill us because the big MRO has taken the money. So, if you look at this situation, there are 3 disadvantages. One, we are supposed to collaborate as MROs, and now there is no collaboration. Secondly, this is a small airline that just started paying thousands of dollars, and they were complaining. If this kind of thing continues, such airlines will collapse. Meanwhile, while this money was big money to them, it is a drop in the ocean for the big MROs. So I think that if we have to collaborate, then we expect that the big MROs should leave some jobs to us, the small MROs. That's the way we can go. For example, I'm looking at Cam Air Co, which is 1 hour flight away from Nigeria. Why should they fly to East Africa 5-6 hours? We are also looking at Air Burkina Faso that also flies. I spoke about this with Vijay 3 or 4 days ago. Why would they fly 5-6 hours to East Africa when they can as well fly 2 hours to Lagos to get their job done? So on the long run, if the big MROs continue to stoop low to clean up and lick up everything, then we as no MROs can also affect you.
Thank you, James and Youssef, for answering to this question. I'll move to the third one. I just show you that collaboration is very important. Among ourselves here, please take note of James' response. I'm moving now to the next question. This time, Moosa, I'm coming to you. What role can government policy and regulatory harmonization play in supporting global MRO growth?
Thank you, Mr. Konate. I think, first of all, it needs to be integrated. In many cases, MRO is not seen as a formidable industry. We call mining, pharma, big tech. MRO is always seen as a subset on its own around the bigger ecosystem of air operations. So first of all, there's regulations, of course. The regulations are necessary. It makes sure all players are playing to the same rules. and when the rules are equally enforced. Then we come down to the development side. We've seen good examples in Ethiopia and Dubai about special economic zones, where the entire ecosystem is built around MRO, and it's a common and shared focus. Supply chains are tightened, all the back-end and downstream suppliers are all on site, and it's an ecosystem built by MRO. So when you look down to the local government level, we have examples in Johannesburg, or Gauteng rather, where we are considering building an aerotropolis. And that aerotropolis serves to serve the aviation ecosystem around our Tambo International Airport, both from an airline operation point of view and airline support point of view, and also MRO. That will obviously mean special dispensation for MRO. It could be advanced funding towards capability development to not only build the MRO system, but support around the MRO. And remember, support doesn't mean that the main MRO should have the capability. It could be a whole host of independent people working together to ensure that capability exists in the region. And that's been echoed through many of the speakers here to say capability doesn't need to reside in one area, it could be spread. But it requires an integrated approach. It needs to be seen from a government level so that regulations, funding, and support all support the ecosystem around the region.
Thank you very much, Moosa. Daniel, I'm coming to you now. So, are there innovative financing or partnership models that could help small airlines access affordable maintenance?
Good morning, distinguished guests, partners, colleagues. Thank you very much, Professor Konate. It's a very good question. Just to begin with, as a leader for MR organization, I always observe that the paradox in the continent in Africa, the number of operators are really rapidly growing. But in contrary, the MRO services are always happening for this rapid increment of these operators will be handled outside of the continent, thousands of kilometers away from the continent. So I understand when we consider the situation with the small airlines compared to the one medium of the big one, the burden of the fortune they spend on the MRO service will be higher. So when we outsource such a kind of MRO services, especially for the small airline, it is consuming not only the skills or the turnaround time, but they are forced just to spend much of their foreign currencies and much of their fortunes with an expensive labor cost outside of Africa. So if you consider, for instance, my MRO, what I'm building now, we are establishing this advanced approved facility, which is vertically integrated with different kind of components. So it started with as what we are now, but it passes through so many stages back in the years. So we started like from the first hangar, now we reached to the 8th hangar with a state of component maintenance facility. And we have a lot of overall capability for engine maintenance, APUs that Ethiopian operates, and sometimes which is some components in the APUs are not operated by the Ethiopian just to support the regional MRO requirements. So with that, we really consider our MRO not only service giving for Ethiopian airlines only, but a regional hub that can support who requires our services. But for that, we always align the safety, the competency, the reliability that the engineers and the technicians provide these airlines to be well trained, like what we have in Ethiopian Aviation University. As what the industry data shows, like 70 to 80% of the MRO businesses are now currently outsourced to Middle East or Asia or beyond. That means In fact, if I'm not mistaken, more than 200 of contracts, which is out of 300, are outsourced somewhere outside Africa. That is really a pain, especially when you consider the small airlines, the small operators. So it is not feasible for those small airlines just to expend much amount of money. As well, you are know, when we talk about the capability, we are talking about millions, 10 millions, 20 millions of dollars or equivalent for exchange. So it's not easy for those small airlines to bear all those expenses. Instead, I agree with one of my colleagues mentioned that it has to be well supported by the big MROs, which is currently functioning in Africa. To develop the capability, definitely it is easy to guess that the economic scale is mandatory. Unless otherwise the economic scale is there, a small airline cannot bear the cost just to have the capability by their own. So the support from the big MROs is inevitable, but as all of the speakers said this morning, the collaboration, a real collaboration will be required so that the big MRO, for instance, Ethiopian MRO currently is not operating E1 or E2, just to be supported by the MROs, which is existed as a big scale now currently. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Youssef, I hope you hear us from where you are in Cairo. I would like also to have your views on the same. So, are there innovative financing or partnership models that could help small airline access affordable maintenance? Youssef?
Thank you, Mr. Konate. Well, EgyptAir has been performing lots of partnerships with the African operator at least on the level of client maintenance performance. Not only in Canada, but in the whole day. We do the operation very capable operator. Financing the project like this is a big challenge for small operators. This requires a lot of investment if they would get the amount of facility for the work. I'm not saying here that in top facility with 10 people, but on the level of small operation, yes, this can be done as big for long time. For example, for the work part of not work every contractor there, but no other 100% for narrow body white for sea shapes. EgyptAir before the consumers to have a partnership for one ton facility, the work side. And the challenge was compared to the funding small facility in African country. This was we consider when we bought our friend in any African country for business partnership. Especially the concern becomes from the small operators. When it comes to the financing of project, we try to operate with a consultancy, providing our previous historical experiences. What we've done in Cairo to do something similar in with the same. But this will be the major challenge how to fund this partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Youssef. Okay, I will move to my fifth question now. And this time I'm moving to my neighbor here, Moosa. How can technology and digitization improve efficiency and reduce costs in African MRO operation?
Thank you, Mr. Konate. I think from an MRO perspective, when you mention digitalization, mainly the perception is the performance of work. How do you generate customers? How do you control limits, chain-oriented functions? How does it tie up to inventory? How does it tie up with purchasing decisions, etc.? Now, there are a whole host of systems on the market with a whole host of costs, but ultimately digitization aims to reduce or minimize human error costs, and that could have catastrophic impact on the airline, both in terms of cost, reliability, and the ability to maintain aircraft safety as well. Now, whether you use Excel spreadsheet, whether you use an IM system that is AMOS or TRACS for aircraft maintenance, is your MIS, your maintenance information system, that's the one facet. And then there's integration with your payroll system, with your HR system, SAP R3 or Oracle, for example. So as much as these systems are all independent, they need to be integrated if you want them to work collectively and smartly. So digitization is important because it reduces human error. It enables you to make better decisions. It allows you to make better purchasing decisions, which means less inventory control costs. You're purchasing exactly what you need. It takes out the human error to a certain element. But of course, the flip side is also true. Like any computer system, garbage in, garbage out. So one needs to have processes and controls in place to ensure you input the correct data so you can make meaningful decisions from whatever system you are using on the back end. Thank you.
Thank you, Moosa. James, I'm coming back to you, and I'm hoping that this question will help you to be able to get a bigger share of the plate. What training and workforce development strategies are needed to ensure high-quality local MRO services?
Okay, thank you very much. Aero MRO was established by Aero Contractors, but Aero Contractors does not operate 737 MAX. So if we limit ourselves to the airplanes that Aero Contractors operate, then we cannot render assistance to other airlines. So training is very important, and we have done training on 737 MAX. We have the approval just to support an operator in the region. And we are ready to do more trainings. There is a saying, if training is expensive, try ignorance. So if you don't train your workforce, then you'll have a problem with their ability to perform their duties, even for the mother airline, let alone to service other operators. And if the service to the other operators is not satisfactory, then they will dump you. So for us to keep our contracts with operators in Nigeria and in the region, we invested so much in training of our own power. It can interest you to know that yesterday we spoke about regulatory approvals, and we have several approvals around the region. West Africa, we have several approvals. And depending on the airplanes they operate, we have to train our people to the standard requirement. That is apart from the usual currency trainings. We also have personnel in the paint workshop and the structural repair shop that we have to train to be able to handle whatever challenges that is brought to our company.
Okay, thank you very much, James. Vijay, now it looks like you have attracted airline from far, so let me ask you this question. How can African MRO build trust and demonstrate reliability to attract more business from small airlines?
Again, thank you, Mr. Konate. I totally agree with you. I have both sides of the picture because I'm also an operator. Yes, I'm also an MRO. So trust can only be built by delivering your promise that you give your partner. You were told don't call the customer. And for us, the biggest, our promise is threefold. We sell cost, we sell quality, and we sell turnaround time. And for us to build that trust, anyone, for that matter, any MRO that's willing to open up, is to deliver those promises consistently. If you keep delivering that promise consistently, those three are the key for any operator, be big or small. Especially in this time, cost is one of our biggest drivers to make airlines survive. Again, as Mr. James has mentioned, one of our biggest pillars to build trust is collaboration. We cannot do it. And you're right. You know, we need to stop silo working. We need to figure out how the Africa is very big. We need to work together to build those capabilities. And that can only be done by doing what we probably did with the contractors years ago. By putting boots on the ground, make sure that we build that airline, we need an MRO from ground up. You know, capabilities are not built in a boardroom, they're built on the ground or ground. And that's how we also build the trust. Another thing that I probably already highlighted in our earlier remarks was global certification as a baseline. It's no longer a differentiator having, for example, an EASA 145 approval or an AFRAA approval. Gone are the days where it used to be a differentiator that, oh, we are EASA approved. I think it's the minimum requirement at the moment. And for us to make sure that lessors and even owners of smaller airlines believe in us to be able to deliver that promise, we need to show that we are up to a global standard that it already exists. You know, so it's no longer a differentiator. For me, it is a minimum requirement. So for us to be relevant. The other final point I would like to say is something that we probably picked up again over here is you need to have specialization and kind of like specialization in different areas. You cannot again do everything. There are people that do things better than you. What I have learned in my days over here is that smaller MROs are actually more agile to move and make things happen on some events. Bigger MROs have big issues with regulations and with so many other things that hold them back. And yet smaller MROs find ways of doing things more innovatively and with more agility. And we need to learn from them as well as the bigger MROs. How are they able to build those capabilities faster than probably us? And actually also let them build capabilities that aid everybody in the market. Finally, I would like to say is that we need to improve the ability of people to again and mention it again. And again, the AFRAA over here makes it easier. We can have a directory of what we do, everybody does, so that everyone, smaller airlines, bigger airlines, even MROs within the region know what others can do and where they can find solutions. All these will eventually contribute to the three factors that I gave them: cost, quality, and GT. And that's how you build the trust and bring that to back.
Thank you, Vijay, for sharing your experience how we build trust. Now I'm moving to you, Daniel. Daniel, what lessons can we learn from successful MRO ecosystem in other regions, and how can they be adapted for Africa?
Thank you, Mr. Konate. So, if we really want to survive a successful ecosystem of MRO around Africa, the continent, so we need to do it starting from partnership and having the forecast of what kind of fleet English components is going to introduce to the continent. So, for instance, that, as I said before, developing the capability requires much amount of fortune. So, one country doesn't have to involve in developing every kind of approval just for the sake of to use that capability for its own airline, because airline is operating, for instance, 787 or A350. That specific country doesn't have to try to develop the capability to have all of it by its own. Rather, it's really required to develop the capability in a well-organized and collaborative kind of argument between the MRs, especially by the big MRs. If really I have Demeke's capability into the MRO, then if this kind of collaboration is really existing, then the KQMRO or the SAMRO doesn't have to invest the money in developing the same kind of engine model by spending that amount of millions of dollars. Instead, that MRO, the other MRO can develop a capability that I missed in my MRO, so that we can share the intense capability required to develop the capability. So having a shared responsibility on developing the capability will let much of the MROs to go across the continent, so that the capital investment will be scattered uniformly. But for that, as well, all the partners, all the speakers, and all the panelists say so far, it really requires a concise kind of partnership that has to be established, so that the airline of that MRO is happening in that region to not be affected by outsourcing of some requirement to his own country or his own continent MRO.
Thank you very much for the response, Daniel. Now, we heard, I think the last thing I'm taking on this now is collaboration, partnership. And it has been repeated here several times. So I will have a question now for all of you, where I will be looking to make sure that as we leave this panel, you propose me something concrete, and we'll be able to follow up with KPIs. So how can a panel organization, so being Youssef there, Daniel, Vijay, James, and Moosa, can you lead by example in fostering partnership and innovation? Please identify concrete initiative your respective organization will take in the coming couple of years to contribute to a sustainable African MRO ecosystem. So this is, remember, I challenge you, we want to bring back the MRO services worth $1 billion. So now, concretely, what you want to propose, as I said, we want to measure, we are looking at a time period of 2 years, specifically, and then to implement so that we get that target. So I will start maybe by you, Youssef. Can you give us concrete initiative MRO is taking to make sure the partnership happen among the MROs in Africa?
Thank you, Mr. Konate. I will not bring more data. I will remind you with all project we worked together on a project, but we didn't get complete. If you remember, we spoke 3 years ago about the full agreement. How can the African operator can sell the pool of components in a person controlled by the AFRAA regulator. So each company, each airline can tell the stock. If, for example, the being transport, I will check with South African Airlines about the route for sharing the component with me. So before idea to come all the African operators together to turn to have a stock, at least for the OT content. Especially with the small African operators, they are putting stock on shelves for the small fleet. They would share it with other big companies. Therefore, this will be very beneficial for them. That's all idea I would like to bring it once again to the picture. And I would invite all the African airlines, all the African MRO to come together to share it with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Youssef. So, Youssef proposal is concrete. Before the MROs you are here, can you bring on the AFRAA platform inventory of your materials so that any small carrier looking for a part, you have seen the last two, access to part is an issue. So that they can look there first and see if they can get it. So this is concrete. In 2 years' time, next year, MRO, we want to know how we have moved toward this. Now, I'm moving to Daniel for a concrete proposal also.
Okay, thank you. I would say this challenge in alignment with what is required from the regulatory requirement point of view. So, whatever expertise, whatever certified facility they are building, whatever factory we spend, and the staffs, the vendors of it, the Denmark capability is all about the regulatory rules. So, unless the regulatory body that specific country is handling that specific operator, is in collaboration with other, for example, the west south or the north part of the central part of Africa, the challenge will keep on going. So, for instance, if I produce something with part 145 or the FAA approval, whatever of the local Ethiopian regulation, the EASA Form 1, the FAA 130 will be automatically accepted whatever is my product that I send to West Africa or down to the south. But when I send the approvals that I acquire by my own national civil aviation, then I have to go with a numerous kind of approval. So, as I mentioned earlier by one of the speakers, the opening ceremony, I don't have to produce a component which is going to have 52 kind of approvals or more. So for that, it requires some kind of alignment between the African civil aviation of the countries. For that, I suggest the AFRAA can play a vital role with it. I understand that AFRAA is the coordinating nature that it plays, but in any ways, it can create a forum that will lead different regulatory bodies, the civil aviation of these 52 plus countries, regulatory bodies to align so that an agreement or understanding will be established. So the cooperative kind of play can be played by AFRAA, so that will alleviate much amount of collaboration to be happened between different operators. In fact, the discouragement to not to support another African operators is because of the repetitive approval required on the same party member. So the regulatory body alignment is very much important. Then the second one, in fact, we cannot, one MRO cannot keep on supporting the other MRO while just taking and offloading the group from that MRO, but instead there has to be some kind of means that the MRO who offload the job to the big MRO has to have his own long-term plan so that his engineers or the technicians has to train very well with the MRO who has got the capability. But what I mean this is that the transfer of knowledge is the end point so that the capability has to be transferred, not only handling the MRO overall capability. Instead, it is better in parallel to look for to transfer in knowledge for that small MRO or for that small airline so that step by step that small MRO will try to have the capability by its own. Thank you.
Okay, on your, the first proposal is a bit not easy but challenging. What you are looking for is, can we have, maybe spearhead by AFRAA, the type of automatic recognition between the FAR 145 and AFRAA. So that is there. And now when it comes to Africa, it looks like you need to have the recognition by individual states, SAA. So that in a couple of years, I don't know if we can make it, but this is what you are proposing. The other one, I think, is maybe what you can do yourself as a MRO ET. How do you, your proposal can work in that case? You make sure you get a small MRO in Africa and transfer knowledge. So then that will be able to have clear KPI within the 2 years. Next year when we come, we see how we have done back and how it is impacting the small MRO. So now, next Vijay.
Yes. So building on the same point, we moved. KQMRO, we are an Airways service center. For us, transfer of knowledge is a key element within the region. And there is some bread and butter items that every operator, every small MRO should be able to do for themselves. And I think it upon us right now to, as one of the things that we want to do in the next few years, 2 years you said, is to make sure that operators operating similar kind of platforms like ourselves, as for example the Aero, are able to build those capabilities in-house to transfer knowledge by our teams. Again, I would say boots on the ground. We've done this previously with other operators, and I think we've had a good experience with them. But it needs to continue. It needs to be built in such a way that we end up using them as service providers for our own operations. And I take it as the target for KQMRO within the next 2 years that we work with one of these operators who operates the Embraer fleet. As an Embraer service center and as a member of AFRAA, member of the steering committee, make sure that those operators also bring those capabilities in-house, especially things like line maintenance, wheels and brakes, those things that logistically bring challenges to them, let them build it at their location and give us solutions to our operational environment.
Okay, thank you, Vijay. I think this one is concrete also. Embraer's operator getting capacity building for that type of aeroplane from KQ. This one will be monitoring. So, moving to you, Moosa, and time is not on our side. We have been reminded, but we need to wind up at 2 years or so.
Thank you, Chair. I think there are many people around the room here can attest to SAA technical helping out. From the formation of back workshops to information transfer to specific capability that they require. We will continue to assist where we can, as we've always done. I think integration, collaboration is important. It's important when the database will be generating all the work that AFRAA will be doing to provide a platform so information is readily available to African airlines so they immediate access to information. We don't necessarily have to develop capability of everything, but it's important based on current and future fleet, this kind of way to invest, and it's important that you align with some of the larger MROs so we don't necessarily repeat the investment. We could piggyback on investment in getting investment as decisions, especially as fleets evolve. So we committed to working and supporting the MRO steering to initiative in making capability visible. So not only does it inform strategic decisions going forward, but getting to know the smaller operators and get access to where capability are where they are.
Okay, thank you. We'll yours be our framework of AFRAA. So this is your question now. Now, to end, James, can you tell us concrete initiative? What weeks?
Okay, thank you. Older brothers should be mentors to younger brothers. And the younger ones should look at the older ones as role models. All of them are older than me in the business, than Aero MRO. So what we will commit to do is that since they have been successful all these years, we also want to be successful. Therefore, we are committing all our trainings, technical trainings, to these MROs, rather than going outside the country. Thank you.
Okay, that's also is concrete. Commit to use the African MROs for capacity development. Okay. We will also monitor and find if you are going on that path. Now, time did not permit it. I was thinking we would have finished a bit earlier and allow to have at least one question from the floor, but it cannot happen. I'm sorry for that. So I would like to end up here our panel session. As we seem to be burning to have a question. So,
Coming to our question, you are right, because I heard about capability. That's true. We need capability on the continent. Vijay from E1 to E2, and to cover the needs of African airlines. Above capability, there are two things. If you want to keep the business in Africa, we need to think about it and have a strategy. The one is MRO capacity. You can have a capability, you don't have the capacity, so African aircraft will go out of Africa. The second thing is to have a competitive price. For me, pricing also is important to keep the business in Africa. So maybe one of you can just comment on what I say. Thank you. Or just you take it as a comment.
well, but maybe one of them can volunteer to. Vijay, are you volunteering?
Yeah, I can volunteer part of the response. I think this was also really not everybody is aware of this is on capacity. Talk about capacity. I think again digital framework that we discussed again today in terms of how operators bring to us as MROs what tasks are required. What we see, maybe Mr. Moosa can help you with this as well, is that in Africa we see that operators come to us last minute for maintenance. And these slots, as we know, have been laid out probably for a year or two. So that's why capacity becomes limited, because operators themselves are not using digital platforms to make sure that we're able to cater for that maintenance whenever the need is there. So we can work together with them to make sure that we are looking forecasting forward to see when the maintenance is due and when the slots are available to ease that capacity issue that we face at the moment. Because what happens right now is that when we reach out to me, to KQMRO, we don't have a slot, or reach out to one of these guys, they don't have a slot. Maybe someone in Europe has a bigger capacity and they are available. Doesn't matter at the cost, but we have to maintain the aircraft. If we don't maintain it, it's a flight. So that's how we build the capacity. We need to work before it.
Yeah, just to add, interesting phenomenon, capacity is one thing, but help us to help you. We plan our pipeline 18 months, maybe 24 months in advance as well. Often we get requests at the last minute. We often find that you come in with a small work scope. You say, don't worry, the work scope is small. The next thing you know, the work scope is growing 3-4 times in size. So as much as we can assist, we've assisted many of you around this table here. We will do our best to assist. But I think use your planning tools effectively. If you want to work with us, and even if you're not going to place your work with one, at least be upfront and say, this is the size of my work scope. This is what I plan to do. Can you put something intended into a slot? That way it goes into our budget, it goes into our planning. And of course, we want to assist everyone. We are MRO. That's how we make money after all. We don't make money when we chase you away. If we cannot accommodate you, and certainly from our perspective in some of the large MROs, we will try and align and squeeze our existing pipeline and schedule to try and accommodate you as best we can. It's not always possible.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a small, kind of long term, but not the pricing part is a not been covered like we. But I think it's linked. If you come late and then they have slots, if the slot was not there, it can explain also the higher cost. However, I think because of time, if you can accept, but maybe we end with just now, but of course, we are here, we will be on tomorrow, people will be able to interact and also able to continue asking and responding to the questions, the comments. Having said that, I say thank you very much for your attention, and I say thank you to the panelists for your engagement in responding to the question. Thank you.